Good day, everyone. My name is Ina Garcia, and today I will be presenting my evaluation of social marketing and mobilization strategies. The topic is essentially relevant in today's fast paced world, wherein it's very meaningful in terms of community connection that can make and break in any of our initiatives. So, we'll take a look at the real world strategies, what works and what doesn't, and how we can do better to drive awareness, influence behavior, and even inspire action. So when evaluating any social marketing or mobilization strategy, the first step is checking if the issue is clear and relevant. So does the program even define the problem? Does it trying to solve, or maybe does it explain why it matters? So if the issue isn't well defined or relatable, even the best strategies can fail to connect or even drive action. It's like building on a weak foundation. Like the whole campaign can apparently fall flat. So we always try by asking, is the problem clear? And does it truly speak to the audience it's meant to serve? Let's move on to the next communication strategy, which is one of the most crucial elements in any program. So we evaluate how well it follows development communication principles. Like, are the messages clear? Are they culturally appropriate, participatory, or even if is it a two-way communication? This matters because communication in development isn't just about delivering information. It's about engaging communities. So when people are listened to or maybe are involved in, change becomes more meaningful. So the key question we have here is, are we talking at people or talking with them, right? So now we move on into the audience segmentation, another key pillar of any successful social marketing or mobilization strategy. So here we assess whether the program has identified specific target groups like the youth, first-time voters, rural or maybe urban communities, and whether it tailors its messaging or interventions to each group accordingly. So maybe you ask, like, why does it matter? Because one size fits all approach rarely works. So different groups have different motivations, different pain points, and even different barriers. So what moves a student in an urban city might not work for maybe like a farmer in a rural area. Let's move on to the next marketing mix, or what we call the four P's of social marketing: product, price, place, and promotion. So we evaluate how well the program addresses each. Let's say here, product is a behavior being promoted like responsible voting. Price, it's perceived as cost, like time, effort, or maybe as risk. Place, we refer this into where the audience accesses the message. Will it be on online, in communities, or maybe on physical spaces? Next, we have promotions that covers how the message is delivered. Are the materials engaging and are the channels even effective? So together with all this marketing mix, or again the four piece elements, help us ensure that the strategy is clear, accessible, and even behavior focused. Now, you might be asking, why does the four P's or the marketing mix important? Because then the four components are thoughtfully aligned, the campaign becomes more strategic and audience centered. It speaks directly to people's realities, addressing barriers and even reinforcing benefits. Like, say, borrowing the framework from commercial marketing gives more social campaigns on a stronger chance of success. So next we have here the social mobilization approach, again, an essential part of marketing programs, truly community driven. So here we evaluate the degree of stakeholders involvement. For example, NGOs, community leaders, and even government agencies, or apparently like maybe media or religious institution actively engaged. So not just during implementation, but also maybe in planning and advocacy. You might ask again, like, why again this is important? Because social mobilization emphasizes collective action. It's not just about pushing a message, it's about creating shared movement. So when people stakeholders are engaged, it expands the reach, brings in more resources, and builds in legitimacy. Next, we have the implementation and management. So another key area to evaluate is how the program actually carried out is implementation and management. So these involves looking at operational efficiencies, ask if there are do we have like a clear timeline, are resources properly allocated, how are volunteers managed, is there a strong leadership structure in place? So because even if the best designed strategies can even fall apart, its execution is weak. So that's why its creation checks whether daily operations are running smoothly and whether the team can adapt with its arising challenges. So next we have the monitoring and evaluation, or M&E, which is the major component, one of our last major components. So the next steps is involved checking whether the program has clear, measurable indicators, both quantitative and qualitative, to help us track in the progress. So the question might be, are outcomes being monitored? Is feedback collected regularly? Or are lessons learned being used to adjust the strategy? Why does it matter? Because without M&E, programs risk flying blind. Data-driven decision-making helps team measures reach, like the number of volunteers, or maybe the percent coverage, or impact, such as increased voter turnout, or maybe a reduced misinformation. So M&E helps us refine strategies in real time and builds accountability. Next, we have the ethical considerations and compliance. So now let's look at ethics and compliance. Most of the times being overlooked, but again, still one of the parts of being critical. So we assess if the program protects confidentiality, avoids partnership, respects culture, ensures participant safety. Why? Because trust is very essential. Even one ethical misstep can harm credibility and disrupts any type of progress. So ethics shouldn't be an afterthought. It should guide everything from planning up until execution. So last, we have the impact and sustainability and scalability. So as we near to the end of the evaluation, we look at one of the biggest questions. Was it long-term value of the initiative? So here we assess whether the program's impact is clear, not just in the short term, like volunteer turnouts, but also in the long-term outcomes, like ongoing civic engagement, increased voter awareness, and even the policy changes. So we often ask, can the approach be sustained or even scaled to other regions or issues? So strong program doesn't stop at one campaign. It thinks ahead, like planning for future cycles, building institutional support, and even ensuring the momentum it doesn't fade. So here is a quick final look of the complete evaluation framework we've discussed throughout the presentation. The table then brings together all the 10 key components that should be considered when assessing a certain social marketing or social mobilization program. So each component is paired with a short description and, just as important, as a clear rationale on why does it matter. So from designing a relevant and clear issue to crafting participatory communication strategies, engaging segmented audiences, strategically applying the marketing mix, and even ensuring the ethical integrity, effective implementation, measurable impact, long-term sustainability, those type of criteria, we work together to form a holistic, strategic, and accountable evaluation framework. They don't just help us assess what program is doing, they guide us in understanding how well it is doing and how it can improve. So again, the framework is meant to be practical, adaptable, and grounded in development communication principles. It ensures that our program are just action-oriented, but also thoughtful, inclusive, and truly impactful. So thank you so much. Now to close, I'd like to acknowledge the references that informed my presentation and the initial framework. So there, thank you so much for listening.